Hello everyone, welcome to yet another Hydra tutorial, and in this video I'm gonna continue on Modulate. There are functions like Modulate, like there's actually a family of Modulate that I'm not gonna talk about everything because some things are quite similar to each other, so I'll just pick a few of them that are like suitable for beginners tutorial, and actually I noticed some. Not that you need to be advanced to use other modulate functions, but actually they are implemented in a very similar way that it's not really interesting to explore. Anyways, so I'm gonna go into that, and I know that you're all excited about modulate. I saw that in the analytics, the modulate, the last video, there are more views than the other ones. But if you're new to Hydra, please check out other videos as well, because I'm building these foundations through each video. And for example, Modulate has some similarities to Blend, and that's important to know what Blend is. And of course, I'm gonna continue with the series. Well, hopefully, when I talk about feedback, then we have to refer to Modulate and Blend and so on. So yes, if you haven't watched the previous videos, and if you're new to Hydra, if you already know Hydra, then you can just skip through, or you can pick what's interesting. But I really highly recommend to check every video. You can skip through, but just check out if you know this topic or not. And it's also important that you open the editor and try it out by yourself, not just watching it. So I'm really excited to continue on Modulate. But now, before, I just want to make a small announcement. I talked about it in the last video as well, but I'm going to be presenting at CC Fest with Flor, who's also an active contributor to Hydra, and this is going to happen on March 15th, 2025. So if you're watching before that, please register. I put the link in the description down below, and it's free. If you have some money to donate, please do it, because it's a run by volunteers, and it's a very nice community, and I hope that this will continue. And yeah, also in the keynote, Olivia, who created Hydra and maintaining Hydra and running the community, she's also giving a keynote, so I highly recommend that you check this out. There are going to be amazing workshops, and one of them is, well, amazing workshop is mine with Flor, and this is going to be a new material about using machine learning. We use Teachable Machine and ML5JS inside Hydra. We're still not sure exactly what the material will be, but we will probably run some of the sketches inside Hydra Editor. Also, we prepare some prepared web pages that you can try it out as a kind of a sandbox. So please come and check it out. I think you don't have to declare which workshop you want to take. You just get a ticket, and there will be a Zoom link, and we'll have breakout rooms where you can choose the workshop. So also there will be more and more workshops, so I highly recommend you check it out, and yeah, hopefully we'll have fun with this. Okay, so let's jump into the topic. So I'm gonna just delete this, and I'm gonna shrink. Oh, sorry, I was talking about CC Fest with me on the top, but it's okay. You have the link, so anyways. Now, so we are talking about Modulate, and the way Modulate works is, just as a quick recap, we use it in a way that Modulate will take a source function here as well, so it can be noise or something. And for the sake of this video, I will not make it moving a lot, because it might be distracting. So I'll keep it like this, for example, and run it. And in this case, noise is the modulator, the one who's modulating OSC. So, and then the second parameter, which makes the amplitude of the modulation, how much degree you want, and default parameter is 0.1. So if you omit it, it will be 0.1. If you say 0, there is no modulation. So as you can see, if you start increase this, it will like start like in the previous video I made this drawing with like this smudging pen. Basically this idea that OSC is the kind of starting point and noise is like smudging the pattern. And if you increase it, you can see that OSC's color doesn't change. So if, because now OSC is grayscale, so even if, you know, like we say like noise color 110 or whatever, it will not change the color of OSC. And I deliberately chose color 110 because I know that it will not change the result. Because what's interesting with Modulate is that I didn't explicitly say it, but it will not, it will ignore the modulator's blue channel, but it will take red and green and make this smudging. And when I say like red and green, I can also like demonstrate it here, but if it's say like, let's say we don't use green channel, it actually doesn't make difference because of how OSC is. This will not do anything. And as you can see, there's nothing happening. Maybe because OSC is not a good example, because OSC is like uniform in this vertical direction. Or, you know, if you take horizontally, it's always the same pattern, however you see it. But OSC has like only like one direction in a way, like it repeats in this direction, but it's like doesn't change vertically. So let's say like shape. Let's take well, triangle. And what happens with noise is that you just saw that if I change like red, green, it starts to change something. What does it do? I can enhance it, or maybe 0.03 is good. And again, well, something I need to tell myself is that this is not advanced tutorial, so I don't want to go like too far with this. But the point I want to make is that Modulate is using modulators red and green channel. Red will affect the X direction or the horizontal direction. The green channel will affect the vertical direction. So maybe triangle, instead of triangle, I would say like square. Oh, okay, it does it. Yeah, so if noise, what is noise color 10? This is same as noise, but okay, because I have to say 100. Yeah. So if we do this function, it's straightforward. It's just filtering out, filtering out so that it will only pass through red channel. Same as this, it will pass through green channel. And if we work with this, well, just for the sake of making it same, I will do it like this. Now what happens is like, so now we're talking about noise just with red channel, modulating the shape. You see these flat parts. And then the same, if I do green noise, it's not about pink noise, brown noise kind of thing, but let's say green noise. You see these edges. So that because what is happening is, if we do this, it will not disrupt the shape in like this direction, but it's only disrupting in like this direction. Or if we say this, now it's like only disrupting in this direction. And this is that interesting? It depends, you know, it depends on what you do, but I think it's something good to know that Modulate, if you use the modulator with colors, it will not produce color. Like here you don't see the color, but it does something about X and Y direction or axes, whatever. It might come back. Like if I talk about, you know, like if I make advanced tutorials, probably I will talk a little, we'll dig into this more. But for now, let's just say like, okay, noise 90 is like this, but if you do like color 10, you can have this like, and this may be actually interesting pattern for you to work with. What if I increase this? Yeah, this is actually like, now it's starting to deform quite a lot, but you still see these like edges, right? Okay, anyways, so that's something. And this pattern itself might be interesting for you. So this could be useful. And now, for example, like what if, but maybe actually this is, this color thing is useful if, let's say like noise is kind of noisy, but if we say OSC, it's more like a structured, and you might want to make this kind of wavy pattern. And this is already good, but if we say 0, 1, it feels more perfect because you have this like weird black pattern here. And what if I do this? Okay. Is it? I actually don't know. But you know, like just experiments. Like sometimes, like if you want to, like if you just throw in like color 0, 1 or 1, 0, it might change the result of the modulate like slightly. That you still start to see like some kind of order, or maybe not. I try to like consciously like think about what is the color of modulator, especially because in the result you don't see, you know, like you're not seeing this color, like you don't see any green color here, but it does actually affect a lot on modulate function. So this may be something. But let's do something more like visually striking. So what I want to say is, what I want to try is that we go back to this API page, and if you say like modulate, there are quite a lot of functions, and some things are very confusing. Like I found like modulate repeat X, repeat Y, modulate collate. They're a little bit funny ones. So I'm gonna like talk about I talked about modulate. There's also modulate scale, modulate pixelate, modulate rotate, and maybe modulate hue. These ones are quite interesting ones, and I use a lot. For example, modulate scale. Or maybe like, what I want to say is like, if we just like compare modulate and modulate scale, the results are quite similar. Like, okay, it makes this like waviness. And modulate rotate, that's kind of funny one, but still like it has this like waviness. And pixelate, okay, that's a little bit crazy, but then it's hard to see the order, in a way that like the structure of like what they it just makes this chaos. Let's try modulate hue as well, but probably it's not going to do anything because modulate hue is like a very special one that you really have to have color inside the modulator function. And also this is the one that doesn't work with like 0.1, but they prefer bigger numbers like 10. Oh, it doesn't do anything. Now we start to see something. But anyways, like we see this like waviness, but in every function that we tried just now. But it doesn't like, why is it modulate rotate if it's like producing something very similar? Or why is it modulate pixelate? It's because we need to do a little bit of like work to make it work. Modulate rotate is to me it's something I find it's easy to use, because the trick I use often is to throw in a function, like I said in the previous video, like what if instead of like OSC 60, OSC 6, or instead of noise 10, what if you use noise 3, something like more like, you know, spread out, like really like abstract, like vague, blurry pattern that in itself it's not that exciting. Well, for some people, like this is not exciting as it is. Well, I don't know. For me, it's actually exciting. But if you use it for modulator, for rotate, for example, this I think I need to add some kind of movement here. And you can actually start to see that it is not modulating in a sense like how we saw like modulate. Oh, this one, yeah. yeah, this is now like kind of deforming, like smudging the shape, the square shape. But if we say like modulate rotate, you can actually start to see this order that is like order, or like how to say, like principle or whatever, that is like actually it's kind of like it's still like has this squishiness, but it's like rotating the shape in a way, and it's more prominent if you make it more oh, again, I'll just delete this part like this. Then you can start to see it's rotating, but it's not in a way that you would see if you do like rotate, right? You can do like animation with rotate. Is it like this? Yeah. Now it's like just rotating, but with modulate rotate, you can see that this kind of, actually this rotation is dictated by OSC 1.1. Does it make sense? I don't know. To me, it makes sense. And also like the parameter, I forgot what's the default parameter for modulate rotate. It is 1. But this actually corresponds to radian, which is, you know, the pi we talked about. So if we put pi, then it rotates 180 degrees. Now you can actually start to see it, that it's kind of like still like squishy. The shape is squishy, but it's like rotating for like 180 degrees. But it's a very different way from how the rotate function does, because we're using this OSC. And what if we use like noise? Again, like I'll demonstrate with like noise 9. Okay, this is actually interesting, but it's like really chaotic. It's kind of playful, I would say. I think it's kind of useful for something. But if we do like noise 1, you see that, okay, it's still quite chaotic. What if I do like noise 0.1? Now actually you start to see that it's rotating. And what's different from OSC was like going, like rotate to one direction and then stop and then going to another direction. But noise, because of noise, it's a Perlin noise. So if you're like familiar with like working with noise function in like processing P5.js, you might probably know, or it doesn't have to be like that, but like it doesn't have like exact like kind of pattern. It goes like quite in a random way. So it might like move a little bit and then go to the other direction. It's not like repeating this. What if we do Voronoi? I don't know, actually. It's a bit slower. And I can just increase maybe the speed. Oh, it transforms actually. Because of this kind of, you know, you remember like Voronoi has this like third parameter that if, okay, yeah, it makes this kind of drastic transition. So that's actually interesting. So again, with like modulate rotate, if you put a function with kind of more like spread out pattern, which in itself is not that interesting, it may be interesting. In the case of modulate rotate, this color doesn't matter because it's only using red channel. So if you're a bit going nerdy, it's taking the modulator as red channel only and using that as a, like, how much you want to rotate it. But it depends, every pixel is different. Anyways, so if you do like 0, 1, then it will not do anything because it's suppressing everything for modulate rotate. If we're working with modulate, this will still do something. It's very slow, but it's okay. Yeah, it might be. Actually, this is also quite interesting to work with because, or let's say like 1, 0. So now Voronoi is kind of like shifting the position of this box or square. What if I do like noise? Okay, now it's like, so again, it's kind of counterpart of modulate rotate to rotate. Modulate, it's actually working a little bit like scroll. Now it's like, now it's really like scroll, right? And then if I just do like 1, 1, it's moving in different directions. Oh, actually, now it's diagonally because noise is red and green channels are same. Anyways, so if I do this, then it's like moving the shape in a vertical direction. So it's like kind of similar to scroll Y, but it's not in, you know, like scroll Y will be like scrolling all the same like direction. If you do like modulate with noise, it's kind of moving into a bit more like a chaotic, random direction. Well, it's not random, but as a perception, you know, like it looks quite random. It can go up and down, or like, you know, a little bit up and down, or it's dictated by this, you know, Perlin noise. So actually this may be useful, and you can also chain them, right? So if you want, there may be some elegant ways to do it, but you can do like modulate. One modulate is for this is now the horizontal, vertical, Y direction. So I'll just switch it to X direction in the second one, and I want to use like different noise, the different speed, let's say. And now it's kind of like floating in space, and it's not like going to like diagonally or horizontally. I keep saying horizontally or vertically, but now it's kind of like moving in the space, and this is not possible with scroll function, unless you do some tricks with, you know, anonymous function, arrow function inside scroll. Is also possible. But what's interesting with this is that it's not keeping the square completely, and if you increase these ones, then it will start doing some funny things like this kind of squishy square. It becomes squishier and more and more and more. And now it's like really squishy, but it's like still like also like floating in space. So this is actually a super interesting pattern. Like I use this kind of pattern as well. Like not super often, but sometimes I use it. I really like this kind of thing. You can also do it like OSC, which makes it super interesting that now it's like almost like drawing, what was it called? The lissage drawing, lissage shape, geometry. I forgot how it's called. But anyways, now we're like moving the shape in X and Y directions separately with like separate OSCs. Is that exciting for you? If it's exciting for you, then maybe you want to explore more. If it's not exciting for you, maybe it's too confusing. But anyways, so modulate is actually like, if you like zoom out the shape, it starts to behave just like scroll. And modulate rotate, if you zoom out, it's a bit like rotate, but you can like do more like tricks with this if you take time to understand, which I think I will like dig into like deeper in advanced tutorials. So for now, I'll keep it like this, and let's check other ones. Now we did modulate rotate, maybe like modulate scale also actually. So I'll just use the same pattern. Now we're talking about OSC here, and I'll just use a default parameter for modulate scale. So modulate scale is actually just like how I did, you know, modulate is like scroll, modulate rotate is like rotate. Obviously modulate scale is like scale, but you have like more control. So like if you just put like 60, okay, it looks a bit like, you know, similar to whatever modulate or whatever. But if you make it like more like sparse or spread out pattern, then you can start to see this scaling, actual like scaling happening here, which I think is quite exciting. And what also you can do is to work with red and green channels separately. You might guess, if you get the logic, red channel is for X direction, so now it's only stretching in the X direction with OSC. And if you do this, it will stretch in Y direction. The parameters for modulate scale is quite confusing, and I always get confused. The second parameter is the multiplier. So if you do like, and default is 1, so it's 1. But if you do 2, it will enhance. And the third parameter is, if you scale, it's hard to say. It's if you scale like 1 is kind of the like no scaling. If you multiply by 1, there's no scaling, right? So what it's actually doing is like it's actually kind of padding by 1. Like this is default, and if you say like 0, then it does very strange thing. Or like 0.1, maybe it's okay. Okay, because it also works for x and y at the same time. So it's very tricky. I think it's better to stick to the default parameter 1. Just use the second parameter as a multiplier. I think that's better, because if you want to like preserve only one, only like in the x direction, but you want to do something with y, I don't know. It's going to be like super tricky. You have to do some crazy math, and there is no modulate scale x, modulate scale y, which would have been very helpful, but we don't have it, so we have to live with this. Of course, there's like way to make your own function, which is more like advanced topic. So that might be a solution for that. But for now, let's say like we just keep it like this, and then it's quite fun. And something I really love to do is the modulator, we do like pixelate. And this is so much fun. You can see these layers of, like blockiness. And I think that works better if I even enhance it more. Like this. Yeah, maybe then I need to work a little bit more with the parameters and so on. Or maybe this OC can be a little bit more like dense. Yeah, there we go. Even with 1, I think you can still start to see these patterns. You see what I want to do. Without pixelate, everything is smooth, so that's also nice. But also you can make this kind of pattern, which is the same if... No, it's not the same if you do this, right? If you apply it afterwards, it's different. This is also interesting though. Anyways, so modulate scale, it's just like scaling, but if you zoom out, the modulator, it start to behave like scaling. Like in this case, for example. But if you like zoom in too much, this is just like modulate. Well, it's quite fast because I did this. There's not much difference between modulate and modulate scale or modulate rotate, which I feel is a pity. So you have to like kind of be like really careful with this parameter. And I think what becomes like super interesting is something like in between. So this is just like scale, and this is just like modulate, but we want to modulate scale, which for example, like in this case, like 4 and 1, or like even a little bit more. You see this something that is like very unique to it. It's not modulate, it's not scale, something. I don't know if it's clear. And it's the same with like modulate rotate. It has this like squishy shape, rotating, and then you have this like sweet spot that is like kind of interesting, that its squishiness is like enhanced, but still you see the rotation. Yeah, and I guess I do the same. I can do the same with like noise 1 maybe. So it's a little bit. Oh, this is really chaotic because noise produces outputs from -1 to 1, so it's actually like shrinking at the same time. We can delete this color part thingy. So it's like, wow, that's actually super interesting. And again, noise 1 is not particularly exciting function, I would say. But if you use it for modulate scale, it becomes like this kind of really interesting, and it's like really unpredictable pattern. This is actually super cool. What if I make it like a circle instead? I think 4 was better. Or like triangle, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I can see that this can be like super interesting. If you add more things to it, you can make it more fun. But the essence, like you can see that this has like a material, this has like a potential to do something about it. And for me, that's what I really want to share in this video. That is like, I'm not going to create like amazing visuals. So I don't know if maybe I'm doing it. but I want to give you some tools and like material that you can work further and maybe make it more interesting. For example, you can layer this on top of something else, like I explained in the previous videos. That's also possible. Of course, you want to add like colorama, and you can also add webcam and so on. I can also do that. What if I do webcam to modulate? Allow it, and you can see, well, that's super interesting because well, actually this is super interesting. This is so funny. It's so chaotic. Okay, so that's that. There's also like modulate pixelate, but I feel like this is kind of overkill. So, and I made this super nice video, so I'll leave that to more like advanced tutorials. But I hope you have fun with this. Don't forget to well, first don't forget to work with this on your editor. And if you find something interesting, please, I'll just slow it down a bit. Okay, so if you find something interesting, or if you made interesting things, or if you have questions, just write to the comment down below, or you can share it with the Discord group or Facebook group or whatever you feel comfortable, or you can write to me on Mastodon or whatever. If you find my email, you can write to me as well. And yeah, just share it. I hope that you have chance to engage with other people. That will be like nice input for others, and they might give you feedback in a way that it's not just like good or bad, but it's not about that, but what if you use this function or that function. And I think that's like super interesting aspect of open source community, that is like not just you're hiding your tools, but you're like opening it, whatever you make, whatever you learned, and you learn from each other. And if this video is helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. That's like a big motivation for me to continue this series. Like, no, joking, like I really check the views and so on. Especially I don't have social media besides YouTube. So yeah, if you give me feedback, that will be amazing. And that, motivates me to create more videos, because now I'm kind of like covered all these basic functions. And now if I continue, I think I'll do a few more videos on the beginner's tutorial. For example, like feedback, which I haven't really talked about. But feedback isn't a function. Feedback is more like a technique that you combine things to create feedback. It's not like you have this dot feedback and you make feedback. So, but up to this point, you have all these tools, so I can like start to build up more like advanced things. So maybe I'll just wrap up the beginner's tutorial like this and go on to intermediate tutorial. I don't know. I will think about it, because also like there are like topics like audio input and so on, and functions like arrow functions that I haven't talked about. So that could be something to wrap up beginner's tutorial, I guess. But please tell me like what you want to learn and what you have learned, and what was clear, what was not clear. That those kind of like feedback, that will be super helpful. So please keep in touch, and thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.